Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to Community Talk Canada, Toronto. And today we're filming People's Choice, People's Voice program from here from Canada. We're joined by Gurdeep Singh from the CEO from the UK, the Sikh Channel CEO. Welcome, Gurdeep Singh Ji. Welcome to Canada. We are actually filming in Canada. I do want to assure our audience. I mean, though I was born and brought up in Britain, and you're obviously from the UK as well, we are actually filming in Canada. So welcome to Canada.
Thank you.
Now, Sikh Channel has been broadcasting here in North America for the last 3 months. What has been the experience?
It took nearly 2 years for us actually to come to this point, where we had decided nearly 2 years ago that we need to expand out of the UK and especially come to those areas where there are large Sikh communities. And obviously Canada is one of them. After the UK, it is the largest in terms of Sikhs. So it's been a hard slog. It's by no way been easy for us to come here. And initially our 2-month trial with Rogers Network and even Dish before that and so on, we had struggled. And we were in two minds to see whether we were going to come here at all, because we didn't know what response we would get back. So, but what I have been happy about is the response, what we have had from people by ringing in or emails or giving us views on Twitter and so on, is that it's very positive. You know, there is a need here in Toronto for a channel that is a purely religious channel. So because we don't do any of the other activities that happen on channels. So, and there was a need for people to understand about their own culture and their own identity and so on, which people are looking for. So from that angle, I'm very happy that we've started. Only the coming months will tell me how many people watch it. That is of some concern to me.
So I just want to actually, that was going to be my next question. You at this moment in time, you don't have an idea of how many people actually watch the Sikh channel here in Canada?
We don't, and we're waiting for the stats. It's 60-day cycle. So by the time that we get the stats, you know, and ask people, okay, there's X amount watching, that will be based purely on the donations that people are subscribing. Because Canada ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ donation ਨਹੀਂ. They're all, you have to subscribe on the Rogers Network, and we only get $1 out of the 5. So at the end, that is how the Sangat should be thinking, कि ਸਾਨੂੰ $1 Sikh channel ਮਿਲਣਾ. And out of that, of the 5, 3 go to Rogers, 1 goes to ATN, and 1 is what we get.
I mean, in the UK, it's a charity. Why wasn't it able to get charity status here?
Okay, so to register charities in other countries, you know, is not easy. You have to actually have been there some time. It's not like Galung charity call or something like that, but we are going to be trying to set up charity status, if not at least a limited company status, because there are benefits with those, where, you know, we may get some tax exemptions. We may be able to claim back money like we do in the UK for gift aid. Every person that donates £1 in the UK, we get 25 pence from the government. That's returned to us if you work, not if you're a pensioner or if you're unemployed. So there are lots of benefits. Also, with a charity status, you can belong to other charity organizations when you do these events, so that and our accounts are published publicly so people can read them, as opposed to being a privately owned company.
So at the moment, I mean, as of today, it's not registered in Canada, is that correct?
It's not, no.
It's all solely out of the UK?
It is.
Okay. And your idea is to either register it as a charity or as a limited organisation. How far have you gone down that route?
Well, we've just filled the forms in, and all of these things take time. I mean, first of all, we have to discuss in our own management whether we think it's worth it, and that's the way that we want to go. So the trial is still out in terms of how many people we think will subscribe to it. But I'm hoping that, you know, we have started to fill the forms maybe in the next month or so, because they've asked other questions. Where else are we operating around the globe? And we do want to be a global player. We don't want to think just because we started in the UK, we are UK restricted. I've already tried to do some trials in other continents, and one of those is Africa. Last month we did a big trial for a month to see whether people in Africa would want to watch it. So it's not only Canada. If I break even the UK, I would say there's an office in London that isn't utilised well at the moment that we need to look at, just like the one in Toronto. We have to have contents from all of our bases, and the same thing in Europe. For example, there's a gentleman in Germany, Gurdeep Singh, who looks after the branch there, and he does lots of programs and sends them to us. Or we have a branch in Italy. So I'd like to have branches everywhere that actually then we can say, "Ha, ਸਾਡੇ charity ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ registered ਆ ਇਸ ਮੁਲਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ registered ਆ
The Sikh channel says it's the people's voice. How is it the people's voice?
So when we initially started, we were always concerned ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀ ਜਾਂ ਭਾਵੇਂ SGPCV ਜਾਂ ਬਾਦਲ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ UK ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ would have a control over it. And we've stayed independent from every group. So sometimes, we get criticized, oh, you're having a pot shot at a particular organization. That is not true. We are only showing the view of the public. And the view cannot be biased. And I'll give you an example. Sardar Gurbakh ne Bart Rakhiya. No media channel was showing that until we started from day one, and we had a link with him already. But for the entire time we stayed with him. I mean, the other media channels only came near the 30th or 40th day. I was quite surprised how late they were. So our independence has always been, okay, we don't belong to any particular group, and that's how we've kept it. And that's how I think it will be successful. In that way, the people will think, "Aisi koi jathebandi nu belong nahi karde." I should point out, we're not actually represented by, for example, we're not the voice where I go to Parliament and say, this is what the channel represents, the 1 million viewers. We don't do that. But our main issue is to show people where others may be frightened.
Just want to go pick up on Bhai Gurbakh Singh and the way you showed him. But there was Bhai Iqbal Singh. And why was it not the same coverage as Bhai Gurbakh Singh?
So we've had issues about people constantly trying to hold Bart. So I should point a couple of points out. Bart rakhna Sikh dharm di, in fact, this is not one of the core values. In fact, whenever you look at any part of Sikh history, kise Sikh ne Bart idda nahi rakhiya mangan de upar. Otherwise, I'm sure the gurus would have done it. You can have many examples. If you think about people that have written Bart or Jini Bart Kita hai, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ coverage for Gurbakh Singh was because it was a human rights issue from day one. He himself has stayed in prison for 10 years. And we felt that we could not then do every person that holds a Bart. Because now someone else has started. ਮੈਂ ਕੱਲ ਪਰਸੋਂ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣੀ ਆ ਕਿ 6 ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੇ Bart ਰੱਖਿਆ ਲੁਧਿਆਣੇ. We cannot, the channel will just be focusing purely on people, and words got out, Bart rakh lo, the Sikh channel aju. We're just not going to do that for a start. Secondly, the cause has to be right, we feel. Because at the end, one pattern that is flowing through all the Bart, ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਟੁੱਟ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ. There was not a single Bart apart from Darshan Singh Feruman.
In the 60s.
Which in the 60s, and people have forgotten, by the way. I mentioned this in another Gurdwara, that Darshan Singh Feruman da din kyun nahi manaunde? Jis bande ne Bart rakhiya te apne pran de upar reha. So what happens is, we don't want to start this trend, okay, showing people that haan ji Bart rakhna badi changi gal hai, jini rakhya theek hai. Now we respect for Sardar Gurbakh Singh or Iqbal Singh and so on, but we have to be careful that we don't just become ke haan koi masla hove ji Bart rakh lo.
Coming back to the Sikh channel in Canada, what resources are you putting into the Sikh channel?
So the studio you're sitting in is one. The few cameramen that we have, and I know people like yourself who are volunteers. I'm always concerned that when we start somewhere, we don't have enough budget to run it from the UK. So we're quite aggressive by saying, studio lalaye, volunteers aobe, and we'll pay the few people that we can. We've just bought a camera today because in terms of budget, we would struggle. But I'm looking to send some of the team players from the UK here in the coming month to give some training on the camera work and the setting that we have in the UK. And I'm hoping that would help. But wherever we start, we always start small because we're not a big flowing company. We haven't got loads of resources or money to throw at these types of projects. So I think what started here in Canada, it looks good to me. It's my first day that I've been here. And I think what you've achieved here and the team has done exceptionally well. And I'm hoping that we're just going to push them to move forward with it.
There's always unsung heroes in endeavours like this, and one of them is Gurdeep Singh Kang. And I don't know if you want to say a few words.
Well, no,
he's never going to ask for publicity, but I think it's important that his name should be...
Yeah, no, I mean, what happens is, I've always said that when you do programs in Canada, we must have credits. This is the first thing. At the end of the credits, Gurdeep Singh's name must be there. When he's running around trying to get presenters in, trying to push for programs, trying to do recordings in the Gurdwaras. So yes, there are always unsung heroes, and Gurdeep Singh, definitely starting here, doesn't want to take the limelight. And it's fine. We should respect people's views. But wherever I go, and I've taken him around with me since yesterday, I have tried to say, look, Gurdeep is our rep here in Canada. You must go through Gurdeep. And he's put a lot of time and effort, and I am thankful to him.
What type of programs do you intend to develop for the North American Sangat?
So one thing that must happen here, and we discussed this when I first walked in quickly, is that programs in North America must reflect North America. So there are a lot of people that have come from abroad, even if they come from Punjab, but a lot of people from the UK have migrated here. And I think it would be nice if we talk to them as well. But other issues that are maybe unique to North Americans, we should be discussing those. Maybe issues, for example, the star issue in Italy may not exist here. But you might have other issues where maybe our kids are becoming, are falling into the traps of, for example, alcoholism or taking drugs and so on. We should openly be discussing these issues. We should not be shunning kids away by saying, if he is an alcoholic. We should enroll him on the AA group. Go to the Alcoholic Anonymous groups and start to enroll. If someone is taking drugs, we should try to help them. What the community should not be doing is shunning away from hard topics. And we want to discuss those issues, as well as the success, I think, that the Sikhs have had in North America. You know, in Vancouver, we Sikhs have been there for over 100 years. So where is that? Have we explained to the Canadians, what is the Sikh contribution in Canada? I mean, how many doctors are there? How many people in the army? When I look at the UK, we have been in the UK for 150 years. The Sikhs have achieved a lot in the UK, and when you look at other countries, and I see how much they've achieved. You have an MP here, for example. In Vancouver, there was also a mayor there. All these sort of things we should capitulate now on our program so that we don't lose them for the future generation.
I've got a bit of a beef now. Like I watch the Sikh channel here in Canada, right? Now it's good for me because I see Dobson's advertised, and I see there's a kitchen place in Hayes that's advertised, right? So it's good for me when I watch it. But why are we playing British adverts in Canada?
So I would like to stop them. I'm not a key advertisement person, I'll be honest with you. If the channel could run without adverts, I would stop all of them. The issue has been that when we get, because of our financial issue, we decided to go down the route of, let's try to get some income from advertising. It is right that the ones in the UK should not be played here, but that requires a lot of work on our behalf to edit every time we do a program. So what's happening here is we are relaying what's happening in the UK. I think it's like 4 or 5 hours behind, and that gets relayed in Canada. So we don't really have enough time on programs like this to edit all of them. It is purely a resource issue. If I could, I would actually take those out to make them the full feature for half an hour or an hour. That's the only reason behind it.
Or to have Canadian advertisement. And actually, that actually brings me to a point. What are you doing to promote the channel in Canada? Because obviously there's a certain number of people who watch the channel, who are subscribed to it. How is the Sikh channel going out to promote itself here in Canada?
So, I mean, one thing that I would like to do is when the people from the UK come, like myself, I must go and visit the various Gurdwaras in Toronto and visit at least have meetings with the community leaders and talk to them. When I'm not here, I'm expecting Gurdeep to do it, at least be the advocate, as he is already, by going out and talking to the community. We must have days where we invite people to the studio. So maybe when the weather is better, it's quite cold now, where we invite people, especially children, especially teenagers, hey, if you want to do a program, you want to do some recording, this is how we are doing it, and to sort of engage with them. That is the only way that I see forward. We must have stalls in Gurdwaras if they're happy, because that's where the community sits. We must do programs from the various Gurdwaras, or even private functions, where we think, okay, there is a need, and they feel part of the channel. So that is one way, and we're testing it, and so I'll be able to give you a much better answer how well we're doing in let's say, the next 3 months.
Being in charity has a certain moral value, right? But here is subscription. Now, the community here is used to, say, paying for all the other channels that are commercial channels, right? How do you intend to get that charity philosophy or charity message across to the Sangat where they're so used to everything being commercial? I mean, I don't really want to say it, but even some people may view the Gurdwaras as commercial. here, right? It's such a, like Brampton has 16, I think, right? How do you intend to get that charity ethos? I know it's developed in the UK because I have relatives, and I know how people view the Sikh channel in the UK. How do you intend to get that same view, that same sort of level of respect for the channel here in Canada when we're subscribing to it, like any other channel?
When we first started here, there was no way to come into the network in Canada if we hadn't had the subscription of $5. There is no method in place of people donating. That's why we can't even collect money on the channel. It's one of the clauses that we have. So when looking at the model in Canada, it was never going to be the same as the UK. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. Secondly, we have to be transparent on the work we are doing. How is it being used? I'm expecting us to be so open that somebody can come and look at the books. They can see, okay, this is where we spent the money. That's why I want to encourage people to come here to the studio, and we should have notice on the notice boards. We should have our monthly finances like they do at the Gurdwaras. And if people what's happening, how come there isn't enough money, then they can come and question us. That should be the first thing. Regarding the charity status, this is all to do with education. A lot of people, when you look at channels, and we are not commercial, but when you have that opinion, everyone's out to make money, it's only when you start to work with us will you realise actually there's no money to be made with us. When you look at the debt that we're in, and I should point out this, we are in £500,000 debt. The largest debt we have is with the satellite company. Then we have debt outstanding with Sky, who was our delivery.
Satellite company is where in the UK?
Yes, the satellite company is the one that takes our signal, our live stream, and transports it to through the boxes to Sky. Yes, and then from Sky it goes to Europe, and it goes to in the UK to our Sky customers, who then subscribe to it. So we have to pay Sky, and we have to pay Akiva, which is the satellite company. Those are fixed costs, by the way. Anybody that does transmission will have to do that. There has to be a method of transporting what you're trying to actually have the viewer watch. In Europe, it's through the same satellite, but they have their own dishes. So in, for example, Italy, they tweak the dishes, or in Spain, it's the same thing. They have a dish outside and then they tweak to the frequency. So the model here wasn't going to work any other way if we couldn't collect money. Yes, we could go to the Gurdwaras and collect money, but it's very short-lived because the amount of money that we require outweighs unless we have a stream of money every month coming. It's very difficult.
Just on that point, I'm going to ask you about the Gurdwaras and the Sikh channel. In the UK, and also here in Canada, how many Gurdwaras actually financially support the Sikh channel in the UK and also in Canada?
Okay, so in the UK, of the 300, the number is less than 20. We have 300 Gurdwaras, so you can work out the maths yourself. 300 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ 20 ਤੋਂ ਘੱਟ support ਕਰਦੇ ਆ. And those 20, let me elaborate a little bit, rather than going to individual Gurdwaras.
No, it's not.
Of those 20, some pay £25, some pay 50, and the largest sum that we get every month is £101. That is the maximum you will get out of Gurdwaras. Gurdwaras will not support channels because we have two others appearing as well. So people start saying, well, hold on, inu support kyun karna? That is an issue.
So just on that, do the other 280 support any of the other channels, or is it, you may not know this actually, or is it the same sort of thing for those other channels?
No, I've got no idea about the other channels and how they're being supported, but it wouldn't surprise me if some Gurdwaras that don't support us do support them, but some actually support both. So I haven't got these stats. I've never really sort of sat with the other channels to discuss that. But for us, the main idea is that we have to go out to the Gurdwaras. Some Gurdwaras don't support us by setting up a direct debit, but do support us by having programs. And they will pay us when we do programs there. And that is another method. Now, in Toronto, at the moment, the success rate hasn't been that good. I think of the 30-odd Gurdwaras you have here in this area, I think there's only a couple that we have started to do programs regularly. And so we're hoping that more will come online once they see, oh, this Gurdwara is doing it.
But in terms of financially, has anyone given a single cent?
No, not the ones that I have seen. I mean, what they give money when we do a program. No one set anything up by saying, okay, we will make a regular commitment, because we haven't really asked for money that way. So I wouldn't really blame the Gurdwaras at the moment or the committees, but there will come a time that I will go and speak to them, and that's why this weekend is one of these reasons. How will they support us?
Okay. What do you envision as the future for the Sikh channel here in North America?
Well, I hope that...
Do you have plans? I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, sorry, I want to elaborate on that question. At the moment, the channel's being transmitted in Ontario. There's also the rest of Canada and obviously the United States. What are your plans, in terms of spreading the Sikh channel to other places?
Firstly, in Ontario, we have to make sure that the model here works. So I'm hoping that if it spreads here well and the subscription is good, then we will look at other areas. Yes, we want to go on to the networks in Vancouver as well, and in America itself. But until we have some proper stats, which we won't have, I think, for 6 months in total, if I was being realistic. But we do have some targets for people like Gurdeep, which will say, okay, we want this much X amount of dollars in this month. It's as simple as that. And he needs to figure out how, marketing-wise or subscription-wise, we're going to do that. And if those targets are not met in 6 months, I will have to decide which way we're going to take it. But the plans at the moment are simple. We want to show the Sikh channel in as many places wherever there are Sikhs.
How many places is it shown now?
So in the UK, apart from the UK, we have 17 countries in Europe. I mean, it's a big uptake in Europe at the moment. It is not being shown, for example, in Asia. In Africa, we've trialled it, and the second place that we're really doing it properly is here in Ontario.
Okay. And what about the rest of the United States? Have you approached anyone in the United States?
With the States we've approached, and what happens is you have to go through lots of paperwork, because in America they're obviously very concerned about, we don't want to give anyone chance. You couldn't do what we've done in the UK, where we've got 20 Islamic channels, 3 Sikh channels. That is not going to happen in America, I can tell you right now. You have to fill the paperwork in such a way they want to know the programs, and if you're not doing well, they will just fine you. And I can't afford to have a channel that is running and suddenly we get fined, because that will put us out of business straight away.
Have you talked to any of the networks in the States about coming?
Yes, we've got talks through a few of them.
There is a reason I ask. Here in Toronto, not everyone's on Bell or Rogers. Right, a lot of people, a lot of our community especially, they actually, because we're so close to, from being Toronto to the States, they pick up some of the American satellite channels and they actually subscribe to them. And a lot of our community actually watch those channels, and so they would not even come across the Sikh channel because they're not on Rogers or Bell. So have you approached those particular?
We've approached one of them to talk about whether it's possible or not, and we're aware geographically of where Sikhs are, where they're not picking up things, they're not picking up the signal as coming from the States. So yeah, we're in the talking stages. I mean, I won't hold my breath and say we're going to get it next month. It doesn't work that way with any of these. Like I told you, it took 2 years to come here, but we have started talking to them. And there is I would request those that are watching it or listening, and if they know their friends, they should actually try to contact us by saying, look, when are you going to come here, and we can help you in some way. Jira banda mainu kehda vi ki main Africa vich, like recently I had a talk with somebody in Kenya. He's prepared to buy the live box from us and put it into the Gurdwara. That is the sort of people we need, where the cost is less for us and they understand locally what the market is demanding from them.
In terms of how much money has come from Canada to the Sikh channel?
So the finances, I've actually left in the other room, but maybe we can do another show on that. But it's not as the largest finance we got was when we did the Khandabat, which was very successful.
The Khandabat in the UK.
In the UK, a lot of people watched the Bart here in Canada because we were getting phone calls saying, "Ji, Bart holi karo," at night. Because people were watching in Canada saying, oh, Bart bahut tej hunda hai, because we didn't think we would finish in time and so on. So generally in Canada, the response has been quite good as a startup, and only time will tell. We haven't banked all the money because we had an issue with our bank here. We've got an HSBC worldwide bank, but for some odd reason, the checks weren't being delivered. So I've already discussed with Gurdeep that we should set up an account here in Toronto where people can actually deposit money.
We've just got 2 or 3 minutes left, and I just want to take this opportunity to give yourself a chance to actually speak to the viewers, the Canadian viewers, and if you have any final thoughts you'd like to share.
No, I mean, my only thought for the Canadian Sangat is that we'd hope that as this channel starts, that people start to pay the $5 on Rogers. That is the only way that somebody can help us on financially. The other angle is anybody watching it, if they've got views on what programs they'd like to see or what programs they'd like to get involved with us, I'm more than happy for anybody to approach us and say, okay, I've got this idea, what do you think? And that is the only way for us to get presenters. And I'm interested in the youngsters, those that are born in Canada, because I don't want to lose that particular group, because that's what will happen. There is an age group that watches the channel now, but I want to focus on the one that aren't watching the channel. And I would like to plead with them, your parents may watch it in the background, or सुनदे सारे हैं, बच्चे भी सुनदे हैं कि हाँ Sikh channel लग गया है, but we need them on board. And I want to know what sort of programs they would like to see. So that's my only request to the Ontario Sangat, you need to support the channel.
Gurdeep Singh, I would like to thank you and wish you well on the rest of your journey here to Canada, and we'll hopefully catch up with you soon when you come back and come with some more brand new equipment. Thank you, and Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.